Welcome back to the Rise to Your Peak podcast. I am here with my guest today, Taylor Moore, who is an online fitness and bodybuilding coach. Taylor, great to have you here with us today. How are you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on. This is super sweet. And I'm excited.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. This is a little bit different than what we typically do, guys. As you know, most of our specialists and colleagues and guests we've brought on so far are typically related to the more of the health and fitness world, whereas Taylor is more in the elite athlete and competitive athlete fitness world. So really excited to kind of bring this into a new realm of discussion today. Taylor, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you get started and give us a little bit of that story.
Yeah, for sure. So I originally started coaching about 4.5 years ago. Mm-hmm. It was very unplanned, I guess you could say. I really never had any ambitions of being a coach or anything like that. I was in college. So we'll back it up a little bit. I was an athlete my whole life. Mm-hmm. Always loved the competitive side of all things sports related. Any type of sport, I was just competitive with it. So I got to college and kind of lost that competitiveness that I had in high school. Yeah. And I really just wanted to spark that again. I worked out. I started working out when I was in 10th grade or 9th or 10th grade. I used to get up every morning before school and go to the gym. So it was just kind of ingrained in me, the working out side of things, the training, that aspect. So I got to college and I wasn't wrestling anymore. I wasn't playing football anymore. And I really just wanted something competitive in my life. Cause I felt like there was just a void there that needed to be filled. So I decided to jump into my first bodybuilding prep. That was in fall of 2020. I started prep. COVID was going on at that time, so it wasn't really, well planned out on my end. But It was just that's where I was at the time, and I needed something. So I jumped into my first prep. I competed in the spring of 2021. Okay. Really, what got me interested in coaching was the lack of coaching that I had.
I was going to ask who prepped you.
Yeah. So I hired a guy from my hometown. And I'm super grateful for him because, he got me into where I am today and my career and stuff like that. But he wasn't a coach. He had competed a couple of times. We all hired the local superstar. Yeah. Of course. He had competed a few times. He charged me like $350 for my entire prep or something like that. And I was a broke college kid, so it worked out. Yeah. But I'd never sent a check-in picture to him until 4 weeks out. Wow. Every Sunday I would send him my weight. And he would send in kind of how I was feeling, really not even how I was feeling. And he would send me back usually Tuesday or Wednesday, macros and cardio. That was it. So my prep was a very, very big learning experience for me. Yeah. And I just dove myself into the sport as a whole. Every podcast I could find, back then, we're talking 2021 before social media was what it is now. Yeah. People weren't posting a lot of educational content. Yeah. It was more so Q&As on their stories and stuff like that. So guys like Mark Tomanek was posting stories or Q&As every Thursday. He called it Thursday Thunder. Justin Mahaley was doing a lot of that at the time. Actually, somebody that I used to blow up with questions on because they did it all the time was Cornelius Parkins. Oh yeah, he used to do a lot. He used to put those books on his story, and I would screenshot every single one of them and put them into an album on my phone. Yeah, and that was my kind of education. Yeah. At the time, I was also in college for exercise science kinesiology, so I was learning on the back end of that too. But really, just dove myself into it. Started picking brains and stuff like that of people that would allow it. So fast forward, I did my first show. It was horrible. It was a great experience, but looking back now, what I know, it wasn't a good prep or package or anything like that. So, after my show, man, I really, really, really just had fell in love with it. You've been on stage before, you know how it feels that you get that adrenaline rush and it's addicting. So, not long after my prep, I hired Matt Jansen. Okay. I actually took out a loan through my grandma, $4,000 to pay him for a year paid in full. And I knew that it wasn't for me at the time. I had bodybuilding dreams. Like that was what I was set on. But also I knew the caliber of coach. Matt Jansen was in his prime at that point. And I just wanted to learn. So hired Matt Jansen, ended up, learning from him, trying to pick his brain a little bit. He was too busy to really pick his brain at the time as a coach. I was paying him for coaching, not mentoring. So
big difference there.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Big, huge difference. So
a lot of people don't understand. I don't mean to cut you off, but that's something that I can say even to this day, but especially when I was more into the competitive world, like people recognized I had a lot of knowledge, and to my own fault, I would say I'm an open book, but that doesn't mean I'm going to spend hours teaching you what I spent tens of thousands of dollars learning, so like, and especially like you said, if I'm prepping 100 people, your check-in is not the time for me to explain the mechanism of action of certain things.
Exactly.
Your check-in is for me to tell you, stay on track and you're looking good and give you feedback.
Exactly.
And people kind of blur those lines. I don't want to say they abuse that, because that kind of comes off as like they're doing it intentionally, but they blur the line.
For sure.
And just because we're knowledgeable, you need to separate knowledge and the service that we're providing in contest prep.
For sure. And I think social media has killed that as well. Social media has blurred those lines. Yes. I have people all the time that ask me, hey, why are we doing this? What's our plan for this? And I'm okay with that. Like I want to explain people. I mean, I tell people too on consults, like any questions you have, please let me know.
Yeah.
I think that a good coach can explain why they're doing what they're doing.
They should.
But that doesn't mean you say, something that has nothing to do with your plan, you're just trying to learn about. That doesn't mean come to me. I don't have the time for that.
Why is my friend doing this?
Yeah, exactly. I have a mentoring service, like, or am working on one. Like, we don't have to. If you want to do one-off mentoring calls, then we can absolutely do that. Yeah. But like, that's an extra fee. Like that's not included in your coaching. So
and that has nothing to do with your direct prep. Yeah, you're asking me something to help you coach other people and stuff like that. 100%. It has nothing to do with the fact that you are 4 weeks out right now and this is what you need to be focusing on.
Exactly.
That's a separate interest.
Exactly. Really all that matters is like, hey, is this affecting your health? No. What are the consequences / benefits of this? You should know that, obviously. And then like, why are we using it? Cool. Like outside of that, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But so anyways, I worked with Matt Jansen, but I really just dove into as much research, education as I possibly could. I bought all these books, like How to Be Your Own Bodybuilding Coach. We've all read that book, right? Just different ways of learning. And I really found a lot of joy in the educational side of it. So fast forward 8-9 months, my best friend Parker, who just turned pro this past weekend, I'm sure we'll get into that. He and I were talking, and he had always been a genetic phenom. Like, 18, 19 years old, he was benching 405 for 10 reps at 175 pounds. Like, just ridiculous. And once I got into the bodybuilding world, I realized what potential he had there.
Yeah. And
I was like, hey, bro, you should let me, like, he had started mentioning competing and stuff because he had seen that I was doing it. And I was like, hey, bro, you should let me coach you. And he was like, yeah, that's fine. And I was like, I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. Like, this is the first time for me. This is going to be a learning experience. Yeah. But I think that I know enough to at least get you to the stage.
Yeah.
So we did that. We started prepping the end of September of 2021.
Okay.
We did his show the first weekend of November. It was the North Carolina State Championships.
Yeah.
And we won our class, lost the overall to Tom Cox, who won the national overall that year in men's physique. And people were honestly just blown away. Nobody had ever seen us before.
Sure.
They were like, normally at those little local level shows, especially in North Carolina,
in the Carolinas,
it's a tight community. So people know who's showing up and stuff. They had never seen us before. And we just kind of threw a knot in things. Like we beat some Unchained guys and stuff like that. So we started talking to guys backstage, like Mike Rattini and Tom Cox. And they were like, basically, who are you guys? Where are you? How old are you? Where are you from? All of that. So we told them, I was 19 at the time. Parker was 20. Wow. Or I'm sorry, I was 20. Parker was 20 as well. He hadn't turned 21 yet. So they were like, wow, you guys are kids. Like,
babies.
Yeah. So they talked us into doing nationals that year. Okay. NPC nationals in Orlando. It was the first year they had it in Orlando.
Yep.
So we were broke at the time. Like Parker was making 20 grand a year in the military and I was in college bouncing So we actually asked for flights, plane tickets, or I'm sorry, flight tickets, Airbnb and show tickets for our Christmas present that year.
Wow.
From our parents. So we did that. And we got down there and it just brought a whole new perspective to things.
Of course. Typically does the first national.
Yeah. Again, Matt Jansen was in his prime at the time. He won, I think, 5 or 6 pro cards at that national show or at that nationals. I think that was the last one Matt Berzicott did.
Yeah.
So just crazy. That was when the first time I had ever seen, or I had been hearing of Cameron Cheek a little bit, but that was the first time I had ever seen him in person. And he's only a couple years older than me. So 23, 24 at the time. And he was killing it. Like he won 2 or 3 pro cards that weekend.
Yeah.
And as soon as we left that show that weekend, Parker and I, we were just like, man, this is fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, this is really cool. I started researching Cam and I went and read his little bio he had on his in his inquiry forms and stuff like that, or his application forms. And really just surrounded myself. That's when I started surrounding myself with people in the industry.
And big people.
Yeah.
Between Cam Jansen, I mean, every name you've thrown out are big people in the industry.
100%. So that was when I started, I had been asking people questions in the Q&As and stuff.
Yeah.
But again, I was bouncing at the time. So I was making a pretty good money to be in college.
Sure.
I just started DMing bigger name guys. And I was like, hey, can I pay you to pick your brain? Would you be willing to answer some questions for me or something? Yeah. And I had DM'd Cam because he was really relatable to me at the time.
Yeah.
A young guy with success.
Came out of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I DM'd Cam and I was like, hey man, what do you charge for mentoring? Is that, would you offer that? And he was like, yeah, for sure. So I think it was $1,500 for 3 or 4 calls or something like that. So basically I planned it out. I saved up some money. I paid him the $1,500. And we're into 2022 now.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I had saved up and paid him, and Parker was starting prep for North Americans that year.
Okay.
And just to backtrack a little bit, when I posted Parker after that win, things just started going crazy, crazy per se. When you're where I was in the sport, I had 5-10 people reach out to me.
To go from nothing to being in demand.
So I had 5 to 10 people reach out that I was coaching at the time. Blake Fulcher was one of them.
Yeah.
Just guys like that. And so basically I spaced those calls with Cam out for over the course of Parker's North Americans prep.
Nice.
During that time, I had met Mike Nassif. I had started talking to Dom Kuza a little bit because him and Cam were really good friends. He was with Gifted at the time. And I had actually applied for the apprentice position for Gifted Kuza. They were doing this apprentice program at the time where they were taking on assistant coaches. And actually
I remember that.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. So I got denied. I think it was because of they knew that Dom wanted me to come on. The other guys I think knew of I was mentoring with Cam and they, but anyways.
Yeah.
So we ended up, I had chatted with them a bit, and Cam really helped me throughout Parker's prep that year. But then Parker ended up getting a 6th or 7th place there.
Still no.
Yeah. He was middle of second call out. So, but that was at that North Americans. I had met I had met Dom. We had talked in person and gotten a little tighter. Mike, that was the beginning of our life. He's one of my lifelong best friends now. Introduced myself to Mark Tomanek at that show. Just talking to people, networking.
Continuing to network.
Yep, exactly. So from there, man, things just started. I will attribute a lot of my success in coaching to the people that I met early on and the hands that I shook early on.
Sure.
So, Cam, the Cam Jansen guys, Dom, Mike is obviously one of the Cam Jansen guys now. From there, I just got really close with those guys. I started to dive into the education side of things. Dom's always been doing some mentoring stuff. So I've taken every course he had. That was when I started. I bought a couple of the courses that Jason Theobald had.
Yeah.
I bought all of Jeffrey Sue's courses. I just made this big Google Drive folder of anything. Alex Kickel, I bought a couple of his PDFs and ebooks and stuff, and really just dove into it, man. And kind of at this point, I've probably spent 75 to 100 grand on education. And
that's such a great perspective, because I agree with all those people on certain topics, and I disagree with all those people on certain topics. Sure. So to be able to hear so many different points of views about the same topics, and then bundle that up into your own opinion of like, well, this is what 5 of the top people say. This is anecdotally what I experience in controversy to what they say, and this is my feeling about it. And I think that's an incredibly strategic approach to education of gathering a ton of information. I'm sure some people listening would be like, 75, 100 grand, that was crazy. But that's how you sort through the BS, because what we have to realize is, and I'm even going to say this about my own education, there's a certain level of bias. I believe what I believe. Absolutely. And there's a layer of opinion into those facts 100%. Because I've had my experiences. So anecdotal experience turns into an opinion or a bias. And then what I teach is based on an opinion or a bias.
100%. Yep.
So, and that's not a bad thing, but you have to respect and appreciate that. And that's probably why you wanted to gather so much information.
It is 100%. And like, you know, I did all of that mentoring, and I've pulled back on the education mentoring a lot, and just sort of gone with people that I know are open-minded with things. For example, Mike was a great person to come up with in the sport, if that makes sense, because he's always been a critical thinker, and he asked why on everything. He always asked like, okay, well, this makes sense, but why? And then, so he helped me with that. And then getting super close with Dom, he's also a very realistic, there's no one size fits all approach to anything. And I think it really clicked with me, that approach. Like I was a very like, you know, training wise, low volume, high intensity. Like I follow, that was another Jordan Peters forum. I've read every single word in that forum, top to bottom. Like I did J3U.
The JP forum was huge back in the day. And then J3U kind of came after that.
For sure. So and then I did the J3U stuff and learned all of that. So, but Dom's always kind of keeping me level headed with like, hey, bro, it doesn't have to be this way or that way. It can be kind of in the middle. So, but my thought process has really changed last year when I did my second prep. I had Mike coach me for that. And he's just, it was a lot. I had a lot of gut stuff going on. So we just did a lot of things that like 2 weeks out from my show, we were at North Americans, and he was like, hey bro, just for the next 3 days, eat intuitively. Like just relax. So I did that. Dude, I dropped 8 pounds from the time I got to North Americans to the time I got home.
Wow.
And it was just like, nobody would think to do that, you know? Like, so that was something that I will attribute a lot of my thinking processes to, you know, Mike or Dom, or because you have to think outside the box in any situation. And you have to, back to what you said, you have to take bits and pieces from all these people you're learning with, and you have to form your own style of doing things, which I've done.
Critical thinking and deductive reasoning are like the 2 biggest traits that most people are lacking. And I can say that confidently about Western medicine and practitioners. I can say that confidently about most bodybuilders. Because when you think about both approaches, most of the time there's this standard practice in the background. And that's especially true with like pharmacology. Like I've spoken to PAs where it's like, hey, what would you do in this situation? And they literally say, let me go back to my note cards. They don't even know. They're pulling up a note card that says, this leads to this medication. That's a very black and white structured approach, closed-minded, borderline cookie cutter approach to treatment. And we know bodybuilding is the same way. If we look back 6 years ago, and I knew clients at the peak of my bodybuilding, I would have people come to me and tell me about the last prep and said, my coach wrote me basically 12 months of PEDs in advance. How?
You can't,
How would you predetermine how much Tren Ace and Masteron someone needs at 4 weeks out when you're 4 months out?
No, you can't. And I'm all for having a tentative plan in place. I think people, just to preface, get very confused, misconstrued of like a tentative plan versus pre-writing things. For a peak, for example, I was always the type of guy like, you know, if somebody pre-writes your peak, they're an idiot. But now, you know, I'm pre-writing peaks.
Some things.
But I'm still checking in daily. I'm still checking in with each meals. I'm still checking in post-training. I'm still getting feedback and making adjustments on the fly. So I agree.
Yeah, because you can't surprise your athlete.
No, exactly.
Hey, go to the grocery store and buy all new things or change all your subs and stuff. So you got to give them something to prepare for. But like you said, the expectation of everything might change based on your check-in.
100%.
Yep. And this might be plan B. This might be plan C. And that's the same thing I did. And I always, and clients would get mad.
Yeah.
They're like, what do you mean you don't have all this prepared? I'm like, what do you mean you want me to have it prepared?
Exactly.
Don't you want me to do this based on your body response? And they're like, oh yeah.
Exactly.
Like, what?
And I still would do it, meal to meal and day to day and stuff. But like, again, the athlete side of things, they get stressed out. They want to know what foods to have on. And so more so, a lot of my coaching lately has just been on what is sustainable, because we could talk about what's optimal all day long on paper, but like same thing, reverting back to what you're saying with practitioners. Yeah, sure. Somebody has low free T3. What's optimal? Give them some T3. Right. But like, okay, or we can, that's not necessarily optimal just to Band-Aid anything. So we need to look at the other puzzle pieces. Term. Exactly.
Yeah, it's going to work.
So yeah, just kind of tying those two together. But I think having your own style and way of doing things based off of education is super, super important.
Well, and that's what I see. And I know we've talked about this, there's a rise in educational content, but are we teaching people how to use critical thinking and deductive reasoning? Are we teaching people that X, Y equals Z?
Yeah.
Because anyone can regurgitate protocols. For anyone can regurgitate statements about, certain practices. But like you said, can you answer the why?
Yep.
Can you answer the mechanism of action of this versus that? The purpose of shifting calories or macros? Can you actually break down why? That's what's going to help you in real-time situations versus just, okay, now we're going to do this.
Exactly.
Because this is what I did for my 5 preps.
Yep. And another thing to touch on too there is, and something that I've learned a lot with my coaching is, you can have all the book smart in the world and all these protocols, all of that, but like
no application.
If you don't have the experience of application, like there's some things that I do that I sometimes can't tell you why I'm doing it. But I know that it works.
That's bodybuilding.
So that is the bodybuilding aspect of things. Now, however, I'll always use an education foundation and basis off of making those decisions. I'm not just saying, oh, I don't know why it works, but it works, and throwing it out there. Like,
well, I think if anyone claims to know everything, that's a big red flag.
Exactly.
Because the science is ever changing.
100%.
What we can say oftentimes is we know this works, but we haven't quite learned why, but we can confidently say it works because 100 out of 100 had the exact same elicited response.
I mean, it's like the peptide world today.
Yes.
Like, they're not very researched.
Right.
But
but it is doing something.
But it works. Like why? Well, we know the mechanisms of action, but we don't know.
We're just not quite there.
In a clinical setting, why it works. So same thing there.
Well, and it's so hard too, because especially in bodybuilding, there's so many variables person to person of like their genetics. What else is going on in their lives? Do they work a hard labor job or are they sitting in an office all day? Exactly. Are they a night shift nurse with a completely dysregulated circadian rhythm? Exactly. Are they on birth control? Do they have trauma? All these other things going on that could affect that response. And so it's very hard to say or to build a anecdotal statement, because there's so many variables.
So many variables. Yep. And that's something that like Western medicine doesn't take into account with anything.
Yeah, totally.
So
and the thing is, for the viewers, like those who aren't really into bodybuilding, a lot of bodybuilding education, of course, is going to be based off of Western medicine education, because that's how we feel confident in what we're saying. We're trusting doctors.
Yep.
It's only since 2020 that the reliance on conventional medicine education has gone down, which has now led us to question bodybuilding education from 10 years ago and rethink all of our thoughts around health, fitness, bodybuilding, elite sports, every category.
And I think that that's where the importance of educating ourselves from people like yourself, people like Austin Stout, people who have kind of thrown that knot into people thinking that Western medicine and conventional medicine is the end all be all.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not. Let's now I feel like coaches and bodybuilders can start to learn from functional guys like yourself and take, the lifestyle holistic side of approach, while also having the conventional medicine, education. And then that should be, in my opinion, the basis of thinking when it comes to bodybuilding and fitness coaching and stuff like that now.
Yeah, you got to understand actual biology and physiology before you understand enhanced bodybuilding and elite bodybuilding. You know, the baseline understanding has to be there. And what people are learning is understanding macros is not a baseline understanding of biology and physiology and hormones and metabolic function and stress responses and adaptations and all those things. So let's go back to, let's fast forward a little bit and talk about your recent success, because you've been killing it from basically since I would say, you know, I really started paying attention to you. We connected around the time I was moving from Wilmington to Florida. Yep. So end of last year is where, you know, we really connected because of mutual people in our lives.
For sure.
But basically nonstop, you've just been crushing it, back-to-back pro cards, overall wins, stuff like that. So let's kind of talk about a little bit of fast forwarding into more recent success and what you attribute that to, but also just like, give us an idea of the recent success.
For sure. So I really, you know, this has to be the preface of all of it is I spent 4 years in the trenches, like educating myself, grinding. Like a lot of the recent pro cards that people are seeing, they're like, wow, he's just producing. I've been building those guys for the last 4 years. Parker, for example, was the first person I ever coached. He started as a 180 pound men's physique guy that could just he could bench 405, you know, and he was always very genetically gifted but, you know, to win a pro card as a light heavyweight at a show like USA's is insane. That's building something from the ground up. So
that's very similar to, you know, Dallas McCarver, Jansen Sass. Any coach knows growing up, like you only need that one client to take you to the next level. And unfortunately, that has very little to do with you. Yeah. It has everything to do with that client's genetic opportunities and capacity. Granted, you have to utilize that capacity to make them great, but the capacity has to be there for you to even have that chance. And I'm sure there's been situations of people like Parker that you invested in that didn't work out.
Oh, absolutely, dude. And I think like that was going to be my next touch point too, is like I went through a lot of like, oh, I have these opportunities, you know, this is going to be the guy, but it all comes back to like my recent success, all comes back to the people that have just been loyal and trusted in me and been there for years. So that's really where my recent success has come from. And just the people don't see the back end of things as a coach. People think that I sit at my computer and just type, you know, do check-ins all day. A lot of my success recently has just came from, again, we all see the iceberg that's over the water. We don't see the part that's under it, you know? So it's just been me grinding, man. Like, you know, I was at one point, always revert back to this. Like I was at one point in college coaching 25 people. I was bouncing at the same time, you know, trying to make it all work. Working night shifts, bouncing, getting off at sometimes 6 a.m., going home, sleeping for an hour, getting up, going to an 8 a.m., coming home, doing check-ins, and then getting a couple hours of sleep before I go back and do it again. So like that's the part that people don't see. Yeah. But yeah, man, I've gotten really, really, really fortunate this year. I think that again, reverting back to the critical thinking side of things, that my perspective on things has changed a lot as a coach to where I'm more so like not a one size fits all type of person. And I think that has attracted a good amount of people.
It shows that you're a good coach.
Yeah. And shown like basically my success this year, to put it into a statement, is like, I think that people are starting to understand.
It's catching on.
Yeah. They're catching on to what, like I know I've known that I'm capable of for a couple years now, but like you have to put in the work. You have to put in the time.
You have to, man. And I mean, obviously, you know, my peak bodybuilding coaching career days are a little bit prior to yours, and things change very fast in our industry. But I mean, we know at the end of the day, when it comes to high level bodybuilding clients, it's an emotional driven decision to get with a coach more than it's rationally driven. And so where does that emotional drive come from? Success.
Yeah, for sure.
You witnessed someone get an overall, or you saw how their coach treated that successful person backstage. you watch their entire prep unfold. Something about that just told you, this is going to be my next coach. I resonate with them. I believe in their education, how their approaches to bodybuilding. And that's what like just emotionally attaches someone to 100%. This is my next coach.
And I think to touch on that too, like I think people have been seeing that for the past couple of years. Like I'm at the when I'm at a show, that client gets everything I have. Like they, you know, I'm making sure they're taken care of. I'm making sure they have a plan. I'm making sure that I'm posing them in between meals in person. Like if we have to strip in the middle of the street outside the venue, we're going to do that. And I think that people see that and they catch on to that. Another thing that people have commented a lot on. And so from my perspective, my quote unquote success really started to take off like after USA's last year. I won the women's bodybuilding overall and pro card women's physique there last year. And then after that, shortly after that, we got my client Darad. He actually won his pro card this year at Junior USA's, but he got second at North Americans in his class. And I was 2 weeks out. So people had already called on like, wow, this guy is at this show at 2 weeks out. Cause I was posting my updates and stuff. Yeah. Everyone knew I was in prep. I was completely drained. But while my guy was on stage, like I'm up screaming, I'm showing it's passion. You can't hide passion, man. So I think that people really started to catch on to that because there's a lot of people at North Americans, like everyone sees it and they're like, who is this guy? Screaming for, so it's just the passion that I have for it. And I think that people have really started to catch on to that too at shows. And you always see or talk to the guys who are like, I didn't even hear from my coach on show day. Like, and I'm like, how do people do this? How is that even a conscious thought to not wake up for your guys, show day check-ins and stuff?
I mean, I'd say there's a couple answers there. There's truly are people who don't care.
Yeah.
There's the people who've been in it for a very long time and are burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the people who are, to a degree, in some ways at the top of their game, but at the same time, because of that, letting certain things fall to the wayside. Yeah. And I think they're just overwhelmed.
Yeah,
and it's not that they can't do it. It's that they have 200 clients and it's really hard to dedicate all of that energy to every single client at every single show. So that gets really difficult too. And I think that's something that people need to keep in mind in terms of value and price points, that like, in order for a coach to dedicate that much energy, passion, and time to you, they also need to survive.
Yes.
And so if you're asking your coach to not have 150 clients, at the same time, you also need to respect what they need financially to live.
1,000%.
So it's a catch-22. You want a cheap coach, well, then that coach is probably going to be more focused on volume.
Yep.
If you want a quality coach, you're going to pay for that because that coach is not focused on volume.
Exactly.
And don't get me wrong, there's both.
Yeah.
There's the coach with 300 clients who's also charging tens of thousands of dollars. Sure. So don't automatically assume high cost means high value.
Yeah.
That's not true.
It's not true at all.
But if you've followed someone long enough for a year, see the value, don't be surprised when the quote is pretty high.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because that's what you're paying.
Yep. And that's something great to touch on because like as of recently, I have started to bump my prices, but it's like
you have to.
You have to, because again, the quality and the time and attention and stuff that I put into it, like I'm sacrificing time with my girlfriend at night. I'm sacrificing food, like my own health. And
you've like, told me, you're not getting in the gym as much. You're not getting meals. Same, bro.
Exactly. So it's like, there has to be a even trade-off there. Yeah. And like people have to understand that if you want to work with someone who is producing and who is giving that level of attention and care and stuff like that to their athletes,
their entire life,
you have to be willing to pay for that. And they have to be, they have to expect that as well. So like if there's any coaches out here watching this that are like charging $150 a month, but they're doing that and take care of yourself and make sure that you're getting compensated for what the time and effort and attention that you're putting into it.
Well, and I mean, like week to week, decision making for a prep coach isn't that intense, but 2 weeks out, 7 days out, 5 days out, those are when decision making come really into play. Yep. And if you're sleep deprived, food deprived, dehydrated, having issues at home with your significant other, all of those things I'm not going to say will, but can skew decision making. And And so just keep that in mind that, you know, you're charging a little bit more so that you don't have all that stuff and can allow you to be very direct and calm with your clients. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's just important to touch on that, you know, the value aspect is there. And yes, there are people taking advantage of that and overcharging. But at the end of the day, expect to pay for what you want. You want someone to be in a completely unselfish role. You got to pay for that.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. So, but yeah, man, you know, this year has been fantastic to say the least. A lot of like full circle moments this year with, especially, you know, with Parker last weekend. Just finally, it feels like, you know, I still feel like that 19-year-old kid that's bouncing and doing bodybuilding coaching because I love it. And I still feel like that. And I still feel like I'm just hungry because I have a lot more to prove. And
sure.
I feel like I'm not there yet. But at the same time, there's that part of me that lays down at night and it's like, man, people are finally starting to catch on.
Yeah.
Like just because of what I've been doing and how much work I've been putting into it.
You're starting to see the fruits of your labor.
Exactly, man. So it's like, you know, fine. Like I'm grateful. I'm never satisfied. But I am definitely like, I'm very happy with how things have gone this year. And I hope to continue to bring it the rest of the year too, and going forward in the future.
What are some, for the viewers, what are some upcoming things in the next couple months?
Yeah. So, for one, I have 13 more shows this year. So hopefully some more success, you know, within that.
How many pro cards are you at now?
I'm at 5 or 6 now.
Total?
5, I believe. Okay. Yeah, because I won my first one in 2023.
Okay.
So after 2 years of coaching.
Yeah. Which is insane.
Yeah. I won one. And then last year I got 2, missed one by 1 spot. This year I'm at 2 or 3 so far. 2, I think, so far this year. I have North Americans coming up, which I have high hopes for. Yep. Nationals at the end of the year, I have high hopes for.
So hopefully 2 to 3 more.
Yeah, hopefully. My goal this year was 3.
Yeah.
If I can get 5, I would be super happy with it.
Yeah.
As far as things coming up though, we are, I don't know if you want me to like announce this, but
you
and I are working on, you know, coming together with some things as far as, you know, educational, but also you're helping me a lot with like, obviously the 15, 16 hour days are starting to catch up with me a little bit with the coaching itself. So just trying to free up more of my time with, I don't want to sound, you know, arrogant when I say, but like I'm getting to a point where like there's a lot of high level people reaching out to me and I'm getting a lot of high level clients and I want to secure my name in as one of those top coaches. So, you're helping me a lot with, you know, freeing up some time and helping me with some back end stuff in order to be able to do that and in order to be able to devote more time and energy and attention to those higher level guys and be able to take on, more work without running myself into the ground, really.
Well, and I think, any coaches who are, you know, listening to this need to understand that sooner or later that's going to happen. And not a lot of people think about that in advance of like, every coach is just like, I just need to be busy. I just need more volume. I just need that pro card, you know. Then you get there, then what? Mm-hmm. Now you're overwhelmed. Now you have too many signups. Yes. You're trying to wait list it, but then you're losing people. You're undercharging. There's all these things going on and you're just one person. And that's a really hard place to be. And if you don't make the right choices, you can kind of miss out on opportunities. We've talked about this a lot. Bodybuilding, like life, opportunities come and go. And I look at opportunities as kind of like surfing waves on the ocean. You know, you either catch it or you don't. And it's a split second of either catching that wave and riding it or waiting for the next one. And opportunities are the same way. You have to be able to be fast decision making and catch that opportunity when it can come and ride that wave. And if you're not structurally prepared, you're not grasping that opportunity and scaling with it. That's what we've talked about a lot, is just with all this new demand, with all this success, how are you staying, you know, locked in and juggling all these different things. And I'm excited to see you continue to grow and assist where I can.
For sure, man. And I think a big thing to touch on too is like this year, I have gotten really involved in like the business side of things and scaling. And it's almost feel like I almost feel like I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, but now I'm starting to actually learn how to be one. So
you have. Yeah.
There's a lot of like opportunities that are coming with business or with business and being able to learn the back end side of things. So I've tried to take on a lot of that and do it myself. And it's like, sure, I can do it.
Yeah.
But to what capacity?
Yeah.
And that's something that you and I have talked a lot about is just, me getting really, really educated, I would say for someone in my position and my age and stuff on business itself.
Yeah.
Has just shown me there's a lot more levels to this and a lot more things to do than just sitting at your computer and coaching.
Sure.
So, in order to scale and make something, because at the end of the day, like, sure, if you're Chris Aceto, you can coach for as long as you want, but like, coaching is very hands-on. You have to put in these hours.
Yeah.
And I want to still be able to do that, but also I want to set myself up for the future and stuff like that. So.
Well, and and that's one of the main reasons, I was so excited to bring you on is because we could talk all day about bodybuilding, but we could also completely shift that and talk about business and scaling. Absolutely. And you're at this perfect point in your career where both are growing fast and you're leveling up in both. And that's where we've connected so much is very similar, different scenarios. Mine's more health and business. Yours is more competitive athletes in business, but still same. And yeah, so I mean, getting into that more, I really think that we can honestly say that there's kind of two directions with the online coaching space, whether we're talking lifestyle coaching, functional health coaching, bodybuilding coaching. There's the people who just want clients, want to help, want to see physical progress, and that's their cup is filled with that. Then there's the people who are thinking from a business aspect, monetarily. I want to make 6 figures. I want to have a good life, and I want this to be my career.
Yep.
And there's obviously the combination of both. People like us, where it's like, I love what I do. This is my passion. And I'm also making a living out of it.
Yes.
And a comfortable living, or even higher than comfortable living. Yeah. I'm making all my dreams come true in both capacities. Not easy to do, especially when you're a one pony show.
Yeah, for sure.
It's actually impossible.
Yeah, no,
to a certain extent.
Absolutely it is. And I think that, again, that's where you and I coming together and and you helping me on stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, I have a ton of business knowledge. I've done a lot of the same way that, and this is for, other coaches out there, the same way you do educational type of stuff, you have, if you want to scale a business and make a life out of it and make a good living off of it, you have to understand the business aspect as well. Yeah. So I have put just as much in, probably more into the business aspect in the last year than I have, all of the education and stuff along the way.
Equal importance. Yeah. Because once you get big, then what?
Yeah.
Most of these people don't have an LLC. They don't understand the difference within S Corp and the tax scenario there. They don't have a business bank account. So they're not leveraging business expenses versus personal expenses and bringing down their taxable income. They don't know any of that,
Yep.
And so are they setting themselves up for success, or are they just a hyper busy coach living in chaos?
Yeah, exactly.
And making enough money that they pay their bills.
For sure. Exactly. And again, like I have a lot for my age and where I'm at. I have a lot of that business knowledge and can help a lot of people. However, you're older than me. You've been in it for a lot longer. So you bring the experience.
I learned the hard way.
Exactly. The same thing as the education side of things. Like there's a knowledge base that goes with it, and there's an experience base that goes with it. And you have a lot of that experience. So you've helped me a lot there. But yeah, man. So it's been, this year I put a lot of time into the business side of things and really learning how to scale. And like you were saying, there's the coaches out there that only care about the education side of things and they become great coaches because they love it. But then people catch on to that education. They're like, oh shit, this is a good coach. And then they start scaling really fast. They don't know what to do with it. Yep. They have no systems in place. They don't know how to market themselves, et cetera. But then there's also the people that, and I'm sure everyone out there has seen the massive influx in online business coaches.
Yes.
And I can grow your online business.
Get you tons of clients.
Yeah. I can get you $10,000 a month. So you join their course and all they teach you is how to run ads and how to have a system.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, within the fitness industry specifically, you can't do that if you're not a good coach.
Yeah.
So
how can you reach 100 people with 100 problems and you don't know how to fix any?
Yep, exactly. So you, and maybe you can scale with some ads pretty quickly, but the sustainability and the reputation is not going to be there for it. You're going to lose all of those clients eventually because they're going to catch on to your lack of knowledge.
Yep.
So something that I have really put a lot of emphasis in on that is like, I spent 3 to 4 years growing my knowledge to the point to where like I know
you
most
built the
things.
foundation.
Exactly. I built the foundation. I became a good coach. I know I can solve 90% of the problems. And if I don't, or if I can't, then I have the mentors that can.
Yeah.
So now because of that, I can put all this time into, okay, how do I scale? How do I market? How do I do all of these? How do I have these systems in place specifically in order to be able to scale? How do I grow out a team while also coaching my own clients and giving them the time they deserve, but also helping grow a team and a community as well, and helping other coaches who don't know how to do the business side of things just solely focus on coaching.
Yeah.
So that's something that has been really something that I've enjoyed doing and working on, obviously, as we're doing.
Well, and to the people listening, I mean, listen to that balancing act. So, you're starting a business, you're training assistants and an administrative assistant, but as well as assistant coaches. So you're already mentoring the educational side of that. But at the same time, you also have to keep your own clients because that's your passion. And that's where the emotional volume, the demand and volume of new clients is coming from. So as you're worrying about all this business stuff, you're still staying on top of the newest data about science in terms of bodybuilding and your clients' demands and all those things. So obviously listening to that, you can understand something's going to fall to the wayside sooner or later.
For sure.
And if nothing falls to the wayside, you're just going to get really fucking burnt out.
Then I'm going to fall to the wayside.
Yes.
Yeah. So
and that it's inevitable. Yeah. Something's going to happen there. The resources of your body and brain are being brought into so many different areas. You run out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You lose your relationship. You lose, the other things happening in your life. And then it all falls down.
For sure. Absolutely. It does. Yeah.
And we've seen it so much in our industry.
Yeah. And that's like, again, for the people listening, that's where you, Matt, are coming in and helping me and like, hey, let's kind of, do this together. And I know nobody knows really yet about this, but it's like, hey, let's do this together. Let's, let me help you take care of some back end stuff so that you can focus on all of these different things and still be functional. Like, so, I am right now in the process of, I'm not taking on a ton more or athletes or clients at this time, just unless they're,
very high level and serious.
Yeah. And serious and are willing to pay for the time and value that I provide.
Yeah.
Just because this is a great example. I haven't slept in my own bed now. Today's day 14. So
that would kill me.
Yeah. So the clients that are texting me and they expect a response in 6 minutes versus, 24 hours, hopefully they watch this and understand, I'm not just, out here bullshitting and fucking around. I'm actually doing a lot of productive things and I'm still doing my best to balance all of it, like you said, but sooner than later, it's going to be everything's going to be just a straight line where we have everything in place and going with it. But
let's backtrack a little bit about the marketing side.
Yeah.
Because that has, to my own, I've only learned this from you, but it's done a complete 180 from when I was, at my prime of bodybuilding coaching. So back then, word of mouth was everything. And so you're either putting people on stage or you're figuring out a way to get your knowledge out there that people respect you. So, I guess there's three. You yourself could be very impressive.
Yeah.
That was probably the least real, the least of the three. You are putting out consistent, impressive athletes, or you're putting out consistent, high-level educational content that people value and respect. Those are basically the only three ways as an online coach that you're going to keep getting consistent clientele. And that's what, I went through, and that was that put a even higher level of stress on every single client that you put on stage because they're your business card.
Yeah.
And they just fucked you
for sure.
Something happened, their choice. They don't see it that way, but in the end, that is a business effect.
For sure.
So that's a lot of stress. And then you have this, I have to put out content. I hate putting out content. I hate being in front of a camera. I hate those things, but now no one's going to work with me if I don't. So then you kind of like force yourself out there. But correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of that's changed these days. No. And you still do those things. A lot of coaches still do those things, but that's not the standard approach to getting clients in 2025.
No, it's not.
So why don't you kind of touch on that shift, because you were actually part of that shift, and talk about how people are kind of discussing getting clients now versus then as newer coaches.
Yeah, for sure. So, you know, I was definitely a part of that shift. And honestly, the way that I do things and have done things for the last 3 or 4 years is the OG approach. And, you know, I worked with the guys who took the OG approach. They're the guys that I've connected with and been in the circle with and stuff like that. But a lot of things have changed. And I think that social media is everything in this. Like
huge.
The access to millions and millions of people. If you have a camera, or these days you don't even need a camera, just an iPhone 16 will do the job. Like, and you know, now people are learning, or a lot of people. There's so many of these business coaches out there, man. They're learning the algorithms, and they're learning the perfect social media strategies. They're learning. So I think there's a few different ways of doing things. Obviously now I will say that I think, from a high level competitive side of things, it is still the OG way.
Organic marketing
rules all. Yes. Because no matter how many ads you put out there, like somebody's not going to trust you. Pudding. Yeah, exactly. But a big thing now is just like utilizing social media to, for one, drive trust. Like that's
get in front of more people.
So you have to have that OG way of driving trust.
Yeah.
But also now, you know, a lot of people now are running meta ads. They're running, you know, these VSL funnels. They're running, you know,
boosted posts, meta
ads. You know, they have people doing setting for them, and like, you know,
they have marketing teams, videographers that follow them around.
Exactly.
They have everything.
Yep. So it's just, it's really changed. And I think that a big thing is like the lifestyle side of online fitness coaching has changed a lot. So, but yeah, that's sort of how the hopefully that answers your question, but like that's the new way of doing things is the ads and the, you know, we have YouTube, we have TikTok, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, we
tons
have
of platforms,
you know, X, everything, threads now. There's everything in order. Like, in my opinion, there's really no reason that if you're just committed to it, you can't get your name out there these days. Like
that. And that's what I was just going to get to, you know, for people listening, it might kind of sound bad, especially if you're deep into bodybuilding. It might sound bad that like certain coaches are doing paid ads, but what you need to understand is they're not lying. They're just paying to get their face in front of more people. So we're not talking actors and actresses. We're not talking anything, false statements or illegitimacy. We're just talking about spending money to open up more viewership. So instead of the 5,000 followers that you have, you're reaching an extra 10,000 people that you wouldn't have reached without investing in that ad spend. But going back to Taylor's point, now you're getting all these people from international, from other areas, and they have different goals, different medical histories, different things going on with their bodies. And now you got 100 clients, but you don't know what to do with them. Exactly. So then you lose it all.
Exactly. And that is the thing, is like, to be very clear, there are a lot of actors and actresses out there within the like.
Yeah, I guess I'm just like
no. I 100% agree with what you're saying. You know, from a good coach's perspective, the people that are doing that, there are a ton of good coaches that are leveraging this out of things. However, when you see an ad, you can click on somebody's profile and tell if they're the real deal.
Absolutely.
Or not. If all you see is beach pictures of themselves with abs, like they're probably not a great coach. You know, like,
or they're just plugging constant companies.
Yes, exactly. So, yes, you're exactly right. Like, the thing is, those are the people that I'm talking about with the money sign at the front of their brain, rather than the let me be a good coach and then put the money sign at the front of my brain. And they're these business coaches out here, like, you can catch some really good ads and get lucky with them.
Totally.
But if you don't have that foundation, it's going to crumble.
Yeah.
And
you might not even sign the client up because the first conversation, the client asks you questions that you don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
And
exactly.
you already, you just paid for a lead that you can't close because you don't even have the educational structure.
Yep.
And again, I resonate with this because I have mentored several, new novice coaches, and I employed a lot of novice coaches. And, from a business perspective, looking back, hindsight's 2020, I may have not taken the best approach. I brought on coaches that I felt aligned with my morals and my coaching philosophies.
Yeah.
And in those regards, they were great, but none of them had any skills in terms of marketing or content or they had no tools or skills to help themselves get clients. Yeah. They were expecting me to just hand them 50 clients. Like, come on, the people coming to me wanted to work with me.
Yeah, exactly. And that is a huge thing, is like when we're building out these teams from a competitive perspective, that's something that I've struggled with, is like, I want to bring on assistant coaches. I want to scale it from a business perspective or from a competitive bodybuilding perspective. People come to me, they want to work with me.
Yeah.
But that's
the emotional attachment.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing that the lifestyle side of things has really, really blown up with, is because you can run an ad and nobody knows exactly who you are, but if they're interested, you can sign them up and you can delegate them to another coach or another.
Because you've trained those coaches.
Exactly.
So there's a layer of standards that person can trust, because if Taylor's putting his name behind it, I can trust that all of those coaches have a standard level.
Yep, for sure.
And if something goes wrong and I can complain, Taylor will provide that customer service.
Yep.
And remedy it.
Yep, exactly. And I, honestly, like, my vision, speaking more long-term now, and my goals with things, is to have a happy medium of both.
Yeah.
I think that you can do both. Me specifically, I want to get into just coaching bodybuilders. I want to scale that. I want to have a team that, you can do it too. Like Fit Body Fusion, a lot of people don't know the names of the specific coaches, but they know that Fit Body Fusion produces really good athletes.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So they're going to Fit Body Fusion. I think that is a way to do it. You have to build your reputation though.
Yeah.
So, long term, my goal is to be able to, have a team that can scale that way, while I still am having my clients that want to come to me, they want to work with me, can work with me because I have that availability, but also have an option for every
amazing coaches that, if you're unable to take it, they're getting just the same level of education, care, and skill, and probably for a little bit lower price because they're not as busy.
Exactly. And
so that's a win-win.
Yeah, for sure. And whether that's lifestyle, whether that's you're a lower level competitor, or whether you have functional health issues, we've talked about this. Like, just having an option for everybody, I think, is the best way to go about it. And that's where the business side of things comes in, because I've built my name within the competitive industry. I'm still building, obviously, but like, good enough to where I can probably not have to market as much, and I'll still get referrals. I'll still get, that type of stuff. But I can also, I know the business side of things enough to where I can run ads for other coaches on my team. I can have lifestyle coaches that I can be able to funnel clients to, and I can also have lower level prep coaches that can take on the people that are coming to me that I don't have the time.
Novice bikini competitors and people just getting their feet wet and stuff like that. That, like I said, that is the biggest thing that if you would ask me, what would you have changed about the body technicians over the past 6 years, my coaching team, is my approaches to helping my assistant coaches get clients. Now, granted, all of them should have done more on their own, but they were leaning into me to be the leader. Yeah. And I was so focused on my coaching and stuff. How could I also be a leader?
For sure.
And times change. And so, like, looking back now, great coaches with great education, but no one gives them the chance.
Yep.
That's a problem. Like, you can spend $75,000 on education, but no one gives you a chance because you're a brand new name.
Yep.
So those paid ads now allow you the chance to prove yourself.
Exactly.
And then from there, the organic marketing, like you said, you don't need it forever, but people just need a chance.
Yep. And you're building trust with that organic. Like, that's something I tell people is, if you are running if you're doing the paid marketing, you have to have the organic to nurture those people that are seeing your stuff. you have to be able to prove that you are actually doing what you say you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's where you still have to do the organic marketing as well.
Yeah.
Like, you still have to show the wins. You still have to show
you still have to have a business card.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't have a lot of the wins, you still have to show the education. Like that's something that I've been trying to preach to my assistant coaches lately as well, is like, you guys need to put out the content. You need to prove that you know what you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of people get imposter syndrome by it.
Yes, they do.
I think that's because of social media being the way it is and so judgmental and stuff like that.
But nothing's going to improve your confidence other than experience.
Doing it. Yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah. So it's a vicious cycle. And I think that's, why we've connected so much and why we're, talking about, collabing on so many projects together, is because we see eye to eye on these things. And we've talked about this. We fill each other's voids in a couple different ways. And, going back to your discussion around having multiple different categories of coaches on the same team, and how much that can help each other, because there's most of the time a lifestyle client is sooner or later going to have a health issue that a functional coach can assist, to where now that lifestyle coach doesn't lose a client. Same thing. Prep coaches are always going to have health issues to fix. And what happens? They lose that client because they don't have the health side. That's not their forte.
Exactly.
But if you can refer internally into the team and help each other out, you don't lose that client. The client doesn't lose their coach. Because that's another thing too. At the clinic, we service a lot of coaching teams. We service a lot of Camp Jansen. We service a lot of those different teams, Fit Body Fusion and stuff. And we never try to come off as we're poaching someone. No. We even do like collaborations with coaches, but at the same time, what you're paying your coach to do is kind of the opposite what you're paying us to do. So there becomes a contradiction at some point.
For sure. And I think that that's super important from a client perspective. I know, like, trust wise, if I go to a coach that I know has all of these different resources and aspects of being able to accomplish anything in this world that I want, like, I'm more inclined to go to that coach or that team. And, from our perspective as business owners, like, okay, well, now we have this system to where we never have to lose clients. We never have to, like, people can fully trust that we will be able to take care of anything that they need, regardless of what the situation may be. And there's really no reason for them to leave at that point, unless they just don't want any of it at all,
Right. Exactly.
So that's super important.
Yeah. I mean, it is, because you never want a client to feel abandoned. And there's even been cases where I said, hey, like, I think we need to lean into someone who specializes more in this for you. And, that's an awkward conversation to, one, be humble enough to admit that this isn't your forte. And two, bring someone else into the mix that your client doesn't trust, you don't fully know, stuff like that. So yeah, I think that, I'm excited for what we have in the works. I'm also excited for the projects we have, specifically talk about education. We've talked a lot about, our history and our view and stuff, but, to kind of give a little bit of a first-time teaser here to people, we are working on education projects together where both Taylor and I have been around long enough to see the good approaches and the bad approaches and what the void is in education. And like we said, there are some great mentorships regarding coaching education. And then there's some great courses, mentorships regarding business scaling and lead generation, I guess you'd call it. But what we're not really seeing is a good combination of both that's truly setting someone up or setting coaches up for long-term success. And that's something that, because we both care so much about the health and fitness industry, bodybuilding, functional medicine, lifestyle, we don't want to continue to see a void, because with that continued void comes negative connotations around online coaches. It leads to poor decision-making, which leads to health detriment and dangerous coaching decisions, especially in the bodybuilding world. It's dangerous for people to claim to be functional medicine specialists and they have no idea what they're doing in terms of, autoimmune disease, PCOS, cardiovascular issues. So, like, it's dangerous to make claims or be confident about things that you're not actually good at.
For sure. No. And it's not fair to the people who are spending their money.
Yeah. Trusting you.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing that bothers me is like, I hate when I see somebody who is just being completely betrayed by a coach that they had put their trust in because they were lied to.
Yeah.
So, as you were saying, like there is a void there. I think that there's a couple people in the industry doing it, but not enough to cover all of the ground of which it needs to be covered, because social media has allowed for the business coaching aspect to take over far more than the educational.
Yeah.
And there needs to be a happy medium of both. So creating that one-stop shop for any and all things business and education is a void that has to come in and fill the place of.
Yeah, I think there's, and maybe it's our algorithms. I don't know if this is everyone, because you never know what everyone else is seeing. True. I think you and I see the same things because we talk about it.
Yeah.
So I can assume that quite a few of these male viewers listening probably see the same things we do in our algorithms. In the past 2 years, there's been this huge shift towards making lots of money, having luxurious things, living the finer life, I guess you could say. And a lot of promises going out there in the marketing world of like, you can do this, you can be a 7-figure coach and stuff. And we have seen, yes, you can. Those courses will teach you how to get tons of leads. But can you close those leads? One, and can you retain those clients? And one thing both of us see a lot is horrible client retention. So you've spent a couple grand on ads, you spent all this time and money turning those leads into real clients, and then you fail as a coach.
Yep.
Horrible on you mentally.
Yep.
Horrible on your marketing strategy, because everyone just witnessed that happen. And now and we also didn't even talk about word of mouth being a huge thing for coaching.
Yeah.
And you just got terrible word of mouth against you on forums, on social media, on Reddit, on all that 100%. Stuff. And you can't afford that. So in any business, personal training, gyms, anything we're talking about, it's not only getting new leads, but it's client retention.
Yes,
and the education and skill set is the retention. You need both to scale. If you're just replacing your last month's clients, you have the same 20 clients.
Yep.
And I've seen that so much in my business model. Not my coach's fault. People just come and go, especially in lifestyle. Prep, not so much. Lifestyle clients, they're just like, hey, I think I'm going to take the summer off.
I lost 10 pounds. I'm done.
I'm good. Yeah. I want to go back to drinking every weekend and stuff. So lifestyle clients come and go. You always have to be actively looking for more clients as a coach to sustain your income and revenue.
For sure. And don't get me wrong, like the finer things are amazing. I love them. Like, I love my car. I love being able to sleep at night knowing that all of my bills are paid. And everyone should want that.
Of course.
But you should want it to be sustainable, like you said.
And you want to accomplish it in a way that you can sleep soundly at night.
Way.
Yeah, an ethical way. Thank you. You're not, I think everyone kind of assumes like if a coach is successful, he's probably shit on some people, taking advantage of some people, and doesn't really care about his clients. He just sees dollar signs. And that is true.
Yeah.
If there is a percentage of coaches out there that you're watching that is 1000% true. But then there's also not the coaches where that's not true. No. And they are just that good at compartmentalizing and balancing. And like you said, we've talked about this. Our finer things that we've started enjoying in the last few years only motivate us to work harder.
Yes, for sure.
When I drive my McLaren, there's nothing I want more than more.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like, okay, I'm good. Fuck everyone. It's like, what's next? And I think what else can I do? What's the next venture and stuff? And how can I keep doing this? How I help my assistant coaches feel as good as I am and want that same motivation. Exactly. And that's what I care about a lot. Probably more than I should is like helping my employees at the clinic and my assistant coaches level up to my level so we can all have fun and enjoy life.
Yeah, exactly. And that is super huge to touch on because people may see our cars and they see our, we live in houses and like, the nice dinners and stuff. And they were like, they could get a level of envy from it. I feel like, I've done it in the past.
Sure. So have I.
But also
must be nice.
Yeah. But also I want anyone watching this to know that we don't show those things. Like, honestly, we don't show them at all. Really.
Most people probably don't even know.
Exactly. So, but we don't show those to cause any jealousy or envy or holy art thou type of perspective. We show that to motivate other people as well, that it can be accomplished if you do it the right way.
Right. And
it can be, again, anyone can make enough off of just a marketing scheme to buy a car, but like, can you pay for it for the next 5 years?
Sure.
So that's our goal with everything that we talk about and what we do is like, it's to, again, a rising tide raises all ships. Right. Yep. So like, that should be the goal. It's not to be flashy. It's to motivate you that like, hey, I came from nothing. And quite honestly, I came from fucking nothing.
Yeah.
And I worked my ass off to get to where I am. So like, I'm going to enjoy it. And I also want other people to know that they can do the same thing.
Absolutely. The thing is too, like people in the Carolinas watched me from day one, watched me 14 years ago, broke as a joke, owning Olympus, making no money, living kind of in poverty, barely paying rent and stuff, wearing the same sweaty athletic clothes, the old shoes that are 3 years old that I squat in and stuff. Like people witnessed that for a decade with me. Yep. So there's very little people I think that can be like, he did this and that and he didn't take his time or he didn't earn it or anything. Because they watched me be broke for quite a while.
And on the opposing side of that with me, I'm still only 24 years old. And people are like, oh, dude, he's got a Corvette already. Like he just has it like that. Like, no, I just, if you're watching and think that, no, that is not the case whatsoever. I grew up, in a single family home. My mom busted her ass with a minimum wage job to take care of me and my sister. And, there were times, in high school when, so in high school, I owned my own landscaping business. Mm-hmm. Like, there were times where I've had to help my mom. I paid for majority of all of my bills in college, like I don't, this isn't an overnight thing. I may only be 24, but like 6, 7, 8 years, I've been fucking working my ass off. And I quite literally came from nothing at all. And I don't want, that to be mistaken. Like, I'm going to enjoy the things that I have and hope that it motivates others.
Should. Why not enjoy the fruits of your labor? Because why keep going? Exactly. And I think that both of us kind of grinding our way to the top has a different level of appreciation for it than we might see other people who've kind of just like they came from money or had a very comfortable situation. And I think that that brings us a level of appreciation. It also reminds us humility that it can all go away tomorrow.
Always.
Like everything could change tomorrow if I'm not on my game, but also puts a different desire in us to share this with our loved ones and people close to us, friends and assistant coaches and employees and stuff. Like, I think maybe if I had this forever, I wouldn't care what they want. But because I know how good it felt, I want to share that. And like be a tour guide for other people to scale. 100%. And that makes me feel really good. Like if I could help 10 people get to my level, I feel fucking good.
100%. And that's a huge thing to touch on too. Like even Parker, I said, has been my best friend since 8th grade. And he and I came from kind of the same background. Like he may have even had it a little better than financially than I did growing up. But like, he's my assistant coach now. And I want him to do and have all the things that I do and have. Like I want him to, I want him to come with me. I want Jared, he was one of the guys that we were together in college. He's an assistant coach of mine now. We were together in college bouncing until, 7, 8 a.m. together at night while doing all these things. And, it's very important to note that too. Like I want these things for everyone in my circle and everyone in general. Like I want everyone to do good and be good and have good, nice stuff. So yeah, man, it's something that I never want people to get the wrong idea from any of it, So just prefacing that, like.
Well, I think that's why, we're so passionate and excited about this next project is because it's really all about helping more people and spreading more knowledge. And, we talked a lot about, reaching more people, but not necessarily reaching more clients, reaching more coaches. Now, you still want to reach more clients, obviously, very, very specific clients for your niche, but we want to help as many people as possible and continue to mold the coaching industry.
For sure.
Because if the coaching industry just goes downhill, how does that make us look?
Yeah, no.
And from a clinic perspective, you know, we have 9,000 patients, most of them some way involved in health and fitness. Trust me when I say I hate getting sick, dysfunctional people who it was from a coach.
Yeah, for sure.
And I hate for them to now hate bodybuilding, think coaches are bad, think certain things are bad, and just be very bitter and spiteful and dysfunctional, feeling like shit because of poor coaching or lack of care and stuff like that. So I see it every day at the clinic. Yeah. And that's another reason why I'm passionate about, you know, this has to shift. Yep. We need higher level education and skill set for all these people getting tons of clients now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think it's so important. I think that there's still a lot of potential within the industry with social media. I think that it can be used all in a positive manner. It just hasn't been because the shift has been so fast and people see the scam artists that are within it and have been able to make a name for themselves as well. But like we can all agree there's, you know, one bad apple will spoil the rest of the batch, right? Always. So like that's our goal, is to make sure that the other bad apples don't make the rest of the industry look like bad apples. So
we're getting kind of close to time. One thing I want to touch on, we've talked about some great things. I'm sure to a degree, there's probably a certain viewership that is now wondering like, well, how do I tell whether or not it's a good coach? So do you have any insight? So if someone's looking for a coach, maybe they see a paid ad. They didn't even recognize it was a paid ad, but now that they recognize it's a paid ad, do they become a little bit more skeptical? What should they be looking for from there? Like what are your check boxes?
For sure. So I think when you see a paid ad, I think that you should first, social media, if they're running paid ads, should be their resume.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
so go to their page.
Go to their page, look at what they've done, look at what they produced, look how real and raw they are.
Yep.
Does it look like their answers or their captions are ChatGPT produced, or does it look like they actually sat down and took the time to read?
See, that's the thing. Like ChatGPT was never in my coaching career.
Exactly. And nowadays you can honestly probably screenshot a caption and put it into ChatGPT and ask, did ChatGPT make this caption?
Wow.
Like you know, you can.
This is all new to me.
Yeah, exactly. So like, that's one thing. I mean, even dude, like I can even tell, like Parker wrote something and put like one little piece of his caption the other day, and it was like a quote from ChatGPT. And I was like, hey, bro, you know, it's okay to use ChatGPT for creative thinking, but don't use it to write your shit. Like I can tell, because it's not just a little dash, it's a double dash. Like there's things like that.
Things.
You know, people that know AI know when AI. So little off topic there, but like that's a big thing. Just try to realize, are they using AI for their stuff or not?
Wow.
It's not horrible if they are, but use it to spark creativity and use it to reason or to critically think. Don't use it to do your job. Yeah, exactly. So that and look at their results, look at their resume. Like, do they know what they're talking about? If you don't know if they know what they're talking about, you know, just do research on if they do.
Yeah.
Do they have results is the biggest thing, because a lot of people now, like you said, can look the part. Just like back in the day, they can look the part and people trust them automatically. Just because they look the part or just because they have IFBB Pro in their bio does not mean that they know what they're talking about. Right. And I would honestly probably
quite the opposite, because they don't have to know what they're talking about. Bingo. They're just genetically gifted. Bingo. Everything works.
And they
look at a weight and they grow.
And they had someone who knew what they were talking about to tell them what to do to get to where they are. So that's the thing, is like, you should see results. And another thing is, like, I feel like a lot of coaches get these genetic phenoms, which is great. Everyone should get that, and marketing is great with that. But like, also look at the real world examples and changes that they've made.
So glad you said that.
If they've taken someone from being super obese to, like, you know, super lean and just fix their blood work, stuff like that, that is far more impressive to me than it is to take somebody who was going to win anyways, and you just took them to a higher win. You know, so that's what I like to look for. And if I was looking for a coach, I would do the same thing. And then just, again, authenticity. You can you can look at a reel and tell, is somebody scripting that reel or are they just genuinely talking how they feel?
Yeah.
And I think that it's important to make sure that they're talking how they feel. And, you know, you can even go deeper into it. Like most people now have landing pages and websites with testimonials. A big thing is like, go through, see the people that they've posted and reach out to those people.
Hear from them.
Hear from their clients.
Word of mouth.
You know, so that's something that I think is that's how I would go about it.
These days, do you have a lot of people vet you? Like, are you running into, like, by the time they're getting to you for that discussion, have they already made their minds or they have follow-up questions beforehand?
So obviously within my niche, like most of the time they've done their research.
They know.
At least, you know, I still do have lifestyle people who haven't really, but they've worked with other coaches in the past. And then we get on a call, I show them how I do things and they're like, whoa, this is not what I'm used to.
Yeah.
So that's another thing is get on a consult with them and see what they're about, see what they know, ask questions.
Yeah.
In my opinion, you can always tell how knowledgeable somebody is as to how good of questions they ask.
Bingo.
So
intake forms, initial applications. That should highlight a lot of stuff. What is the coach interested in you?
Yes, exactly.
And your history.
And if they ask questions that you don't even know the answer to, they probably know a lot more than you do.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, that's a way of trusting somebody. So, that it's, yes, people still like vet me and ask me questions and stuff like that, but I also open the door to it. Like I want you to ask me questions because I want to prove to you that I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and be on the same page.
Yeah, exactly. Now, from a competitive industry, there's a lot of people, especially recently with the wins and everything, who have been following me for a while, and now they're starting to even some of my good friends, like who maybe didn't trust in me 100% at the start. Yeah, and now they're like, oh shit, this guy. You know, I think I'm just gonna go with my boy Taylor. So you know, that's been a huge thing lately too.
We talked about last night. Hey, you're really good with girls.
Yep.
You know?
Exactly.
I heard you're really good with bikini girls.
Yeah.
Just as good with guys.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, so, you know, that's, people definitely they vet me, but like also I've started to build a good enough reputation.
Yeah, you're kind of past that point.
Yeah, for sure. So, but I do think that it's important that if someone wants or feels the desire to vet the coach, they should do that. For sure. 100%.
Well, thank you so much for being available today, man. I really appreciate it. This was an awesome talk, and I know our viewers are going to love it. Like I said, quite different than the typical, you know, functional medicine health dives that we do. In case the listeners, viewers want to follow you, connect with you, maybe they're interested in working with you, how can they find you? How can they get a hold of you? Yeah,
for sure. So my Instagram is like my main business card, as you could say. So at TaylorMoore_7. Also, I'm getting into the YouTube side of things now. So cool. Coach Taylor Moore is my name on Instagram or on YouTube. Actually have some vlogs coming out now, some day in the life stuff. People want to learn more about me on the back end. Then they can do that. I have, you know, some podcast, Limitless Evolution podcast as well. You've been on there with me and Nick. That's been doing really well. So if you want to check that out, feel free. But yeah, that's about it.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much again, Taylor, for being on today. We'll definitely have you on again. And, you know, I'm excited for the projects we have coming up. So guys, if you're listening, stay tuned because we have some exciting projects coming up that I guarantee some of you guys are going to be super interested in. And make sure you give Taylor a follow because he just keeps climbing the ladder and he's got a lot more impressive athletes coming out this year. So that's going to be fun to watch, man.
Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate this a lot.
Absolutely, brother. All right, everyone. Well, take care and we'll be tuning in again soon.